afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our offices. I'm Marina Ullman, shareholder at Greenberg in the Miami office in the fintech space, and I'm here with these amazing women, all of us in the fintech space, and we're very excited and thrilled to be sharing this panel with us, with you guys. So just to get started, in terms of fintech, as many of you know, and especially during the COVID, the pandemic, the fintech space has been exploding in innovation and growth and adaptation of it as well, right? But with that growth, we are not seeing, unfortunately, that being reflected in terms of diversity and women in leadership roles in the fintech space. In fact, there was a recent report that Deloitte published that reflected that women make up less than 10% of the global fintech founders and about 30% of the total fintech workforce. So that gives an idea in terms of representation, where we stand. And as we see that this space continues to grow and more, it becomes increasingly important to make sure that there's representation and diversity in this space as well. So with that, I want to ask each of you if you could please introduce yourselves, and then if you could share a little bit about your experiences as to how you got started in this space and how, what you're doing now. So Renee, I'll turn to you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Renee Julian. I am manager of blockchain investigations at Meta. I've been at Meta for about a year. Previously, I spent 7 years as an analyst with the FBI, and that's how I got into the crypto space. I was assigned to a cyber criminal squad when I first started with the Bureau. And there was, at that point, that was in late 2014, early 2015. At that point, we were only really seeing Bitcoin and Ethereum, and no one really knew what these were. And this is what was used for payment in a lot of dark net marketplaces. So it's just kind of being like thrown into the deep end and trying to figure out what is this? How do I learn about it? And then how do I explain it to others? And so that's how I've gotten involved, and here I am.
Thank you.
Hi, Marina. Thank you for having me here. And I have to say, this is really hard to follow that last panel. You guys did a phenomenal job. So indeed, next time we can go first and then the other panel go after us. My name is Stefany Bello. I've been with Mastercard for the last 14 years. I'm the head of digital partnerships and strategic alliances for Latin America and the Caribbean. And I'm going to split your question into two. How did I get into crypto? And then why women in crypto? So for the first one, I will say 7 or 10 years ago, I saw that there was an enormous opportunity with digital payments. And if I would have told you 10 years ago that you were going to be able to pay with your phone or with your watch or even with a ring, you will say, Stefany, you're crazy. Like, that's never going to happen. And fast forward, look where we are right now. And when I started learning about crypto and I immersed myself into this world, I understand the possibilities of the things that crypto could do, from financial inclusion to rewards, to legal, to new applications. And I said, I have to be part of that. I need to make a difference and understand how I apply that to different products and bring it to Latin America or perhaps even the rest of the world. But the way I got into women in crypto was because I attended some of these big conferences. And I will say one of the most recent conferences that I attended a couple of months ago, I had around maybe 25, 30, 35 meetings. So if I was to ask you how many women were in these meetings that I have, if you guys can take a wild guess, how you want? There were actually 2, and Philo was one of them. So when I saw that, and then when I saw that one of my colleagues took a picture of the audience, and I couldn't find one single woman in the audience, I said, I definitely have to do something. So I took it as my personal journey to try to change the narrative from the user perspective, from the software developer perspective, and from the institutional level perspective to bring more women into this space.
So good afternoon. I am Filomena Rufa. Everyone calls me Philo. I am the general manager for crypto.com and for the Latin American region. Thank you so much for being here. So going to the question, why did I get into crypto and when? So I will start with the second part of the question. When did I get into crypto? It was around 2015, although I also have to say that I did not invest in crypto. So that is a negative part because at that time, as we know, there was a lot of rumors about Bitcoin, what Bitcoin was going to be. And there was a lot of skepticism from everywhere, but there was something extremely interesting that was actually the thing that brought me into this sector. There was the underlying technologies regarding the Bitcoin. There was actually blockchain. And why did I think like, okay, there was an incredible, idea of this underlying technology? Because for the last 20 years, I have been working in the payment industry. And I have seen through my own experience, a lot of broken pieces throughout the entire, supply chain when, for instance, funds, they go from one place to another place. I also have noticed throughout my career that this trust deteriorated towards, financial institutions. I also noticed that the classic and traditional financial institutions, they were set up in a way that did not actually serve the entire world. And in fact, that's why we still have worldwide more than 2 billion people that they are not bankerized. And therefore, when I had the opportunity to see this fantastic, blockchain, I really understood, or I really started thinking, wow, this is perhaps a better way, to connect and to bridge those areas that right now they are disconnected. Perhaps blockchain, it will give us an opportunity to improve the trust. Perhaps blockchain will give us an opportunity to create more value for the community all around the world and really serve better, the entire world as all. And so this, it really made me think like, okay, this is the place where I want to be. This is the sector where I wanted to grow. And just a little comment about myself is for my entire life, I really pushed boundaries in the sense of, I started my career in manufacturing. And many people, they say manufacturing, payments, this is quite a big jump. And it's like, sure, absolutely. But this is what somehow, there are certain elements that actually they tell us who we are if we wanted to reinvent ourselves and push the boundaries and try to understand why not. Everything is possible. And so I also was fortunate that in 2015, I was in a company pushing for blockchain as a way to improve global financial transaction in order to provide transparencies and so forth. And I had really the honor to pioneer certain solutions. And so from there, that was, my first, let's say, my first little taste of what blockchain was about and what it could do. And when 2 years ago came the opportunity to join crypto.com and become the head of the Latin American region, I immediately jumped into it.
Nice to meet you all. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Natalia. I'm the founder and CEO of Propy. But before I get into my story, I'd like to ask you, how many of you own cryptocurrency? So about 10, 20% of the room. How many of you are afraid of cryptocurrency and you still think that it's a very gray area? And now that there is a crypto winter, you're saying, okay, I was right, right? Well, how many of you got into the crypto space before the last crypto winter, before 2019? Okay, so we have about 5, 6, 7 people. So I can reassure you that the Web3 or crypto or blockchain, it's all the same terminology, that it's just another cycle. There is definitely a lot of fundamental value in this technology that I would encourage you. Go and spend $100 and buy a fraction of Bitcoin and hold it for a year or two, just forget about it. But this experience of setting up a wallet will just move your head. You get into this rabbit hole and I promise you will not be able to get out of it. So here's my story. I'm a software engineer by my profession. When I was 19, I made my first company. I launched it in Bulgaria, and it was a little software company in a garage. For a couple of years, I've been just building, coding, and then suddenly Bulgaria entered European Union, and we had all those interests from foreign investors to buy real estate. And so I told my engineers, okay, from now on, we're actually going to buy land, develop, and sell those properties to foreign investors. And I was doing it for 15 years in Bulgaria, addressing cross-border payments for all those investors in real estate, addressing settlement, escrow, title, everything in-house, because it's a new country that yet to figure out regulations. But then 5 years ago, I wanted to create something more impactful. I wanted to marry both the software experience and passion to the real estate one. So I moved to Silicon Valley. I came to America for the first time. I didn't know anybody. I moved to Silicon Valley as a single mom with my back then 9 or 10 years old daughter. America was very welcoming. I was surprised how easy it was actually to make my daughter go to a public school and get all the permissions and so on. So I'm very thankful to all of you here in the room for this welcoming. And a year ago, I moved to Miami. So thank you all here in Miami to again being very welcoming. Yes, we were many. So when I moved to Silicon Valley, I wanted to figure out how we can automate the transaction. And the first piece of the settlement of real estate is how we can automate the cross-border payment. And then once we figure out an easy way to pay for real estate, then we can also transfer ownership. So I started to ask all engineers that randomly, please introduce me to engineers in PayPal, introduce me to engineers in every single tech company that are involved with payment. And that's where they started to tell me about blockchain, that it's immutable. And it clicked because in my childhood, my family lost an apartment to a government. They lost all the money because the currency was devalued. And it clicked that there is a technology that is decentralized and it's honest. When you go to Bitcoin white paper, it's only 9 pages. Like the word that you often meet there is honest. It's a protocol that is honest. And so that was my aha moment. Blockchain can be a settlement for any values and for my company, for real estate. So you may also have heard about the Tampa NFT. Have you heard about it? The Tampa real estate NFT? No? So for the first time this year, my company was able to automate the real estate purchase via an NFT, which means you connect your wallet to our platform, you bid for a property, it was a $400,000 property. And if you win it, you become the owner right away, automatically. There is no 30 days of closing. And that's the power of blockchain and smart contracts.
Thank you, Natalia. So I think one of the things that you're going to see in this panel is that all of us have entered into this space. We have prior history of, whether it's in technology, law enforcement, just startups, real estate. Everybody has entered into the space. And at some point, when you have that interest, you have that desire, you wonder, how do I do this? Like I've been practicing for more than 10 years. And initially my practice was really primarily banking institutions. It was all regulatory compliance work for banking institutions, financial services. And when the fintech industry started to, evolve, blockchain started to evolve, I also got a huge interest in it. And so the next question for me was, how do I get into this? What do I do? What's the next step? And with that, one of the things that I wanted to ask you all is, what do you think, or in your experience, what do you think have been the biggest barriers personally, and then generally, for women who want to enter the space?
Okay. So one of the barriers, and I'll just say for me personally, was when I was an analyst in law enforcement and I was trying to explain. And so generally speaking, law enforcement sometimes is like 5, 10, 20 years behind in technology. Then like you don't, it's not like on TV where you have all these fancy computer screens. It's not like that at all. It's like fight for pens. So, we're really behind in this. So I learned all of this on my own. And then you have like on just through YouTube, just reading, there's tons of resources out there. And then having to go out and present it to people. And one of the barriers I found is that when I was presenting it, especially with law enforcement, is very male dominated, mostly men. And so I would be in front of a room trying to explain what Bitcoin, explain this like very seemingly complex topic to a bunch of like just grumpy old like homicide detectives. It was like, what? And inevitably one person would always come in and they would always pull me aside and like basically tell me that, something that their cousin invested in or something. So it's just very, at first I overcome like the kind of like the mansplaining, if you will, like just saying like, oh, all right, you know what, I understand what I'm doing here. And this person is, he's trying less, but like, I don't need, we could just like move on from it and not let it to get to me. But I do think like one of the barriers that people face, and when I asked the question, it was just there is a fear of this topic. There's a fear of blockchain. There's a fear of crypto because it sounds so complicated. They use such big words. And so you just could break it down. If you just break it down to just like, simple phrases, simple things, it's really not that complicated. So I found that when I talk to people, especially when I was talking to like the 4 women at the bureau that might have like been in any of my my case explanations, I started developing like a crypto 101 training, and it's basically, and I do it at Meta now. It's basically, I always joke around, it's like kindergarten for blockchain, and just taking these really complex terms that people are hearing and showing it's actually not as complex as you think it is. That it's very accessible. We all can understand it, and it's just something that we all just we see you just have to get over that kind of that fear of the unknown and realize it's just like another way of spending money. It's just a little bit different. Instead of centralization, it's decentralized. And it's a little nuances here and there. Right. Yeah. But it's just there's more complications to it. But I just like to break it down to like, especially if you're just afraid of investing and you're just like, what should I involve? Am I going to lose all my money? But like, just always invest what you can afford, and just there's tons of resources out there to kind of help you overcome that.
And maybe investing, as you had mentioned, Natalia, is
Yeah,
probably one of the
$100,
first
not more. I'm not encouraging like to put all your savings there.
$15 and just see what happens. Go through the process. Yeah.
So from my experience, I will say that we at Mastercard have conducted research globally in Latin America specifically. And when we've looked at the data, we've seen that 95% of women have not entered the space, not necessarily because it's male dominated, not necessarily because they were not part of the first mover. It's because of the lack of knowledge and education in this space. Simple as that, right? So yes, the reality is that the first investors and the first movers were men, but that doesn't mean that we cannot change that. So from
We never know who is Satoshi.
exactly. So from my perspective, when I started to learn about crypto, I became obsessed. I wanted to learn everything about it because I wanted to understand from the bottom up and vice versa. So I started taking courses in MIT, Penn, reading articles, podcasts, trying to socialize with people that were in the same industry so I could understand it better. But again, crypto sounds scary. It is true. There's a lot of different nuances to what we're used to in the world of payments. However, I couldn't agree more with this panel. Once you get started and you open a wallet, potentially crypto.com, right? You will see that it's not that hard. And if some of you are like interested in learning more, happy to give you other resources and find yourself a mentor. Here you have, some badass women that are in crypto that I'm sure are more than happy to help you and educate you in that space as well.
So for me, I would like to, first of all, I am in complete agreement with what they said already, but I would like to give a little bit of more flavor. As a part of my job, I needed to hire a lot of people, right? I mean, to fulfill my needs and so forth. So the first thing that I see is that the reason why we don't have many women in crypto is a kind of like a lingering effect of the fact that this industry has been always male dominated. So many times, for instance, when I post any position, for instance, I will have 90 resumes of male and 10 resumes of women. And I totally push, somehow to kind of go into the area of perhaps being biased from this standpoint. And my continuous efforts with our HR group is you need to provide me balance. You need to provide me balance. And the answer is all the time, I can't. I cannot provide you this balance because the infrastructure that has been built, around fintechs and financial services and technology is a male-dominated, area. And however, we as a women, we have the opportunity to push for that. We have the opportunity, to make it change. And if we get together, I think it would be much easier. So this is the first part of my answer. But the second part is, I think that there is something also that we should look at ourselves as women to say, why we don't push ourselves to be in this sector. And sometime I would like to talk on a personal level is we want to be extremely confident all the time when we go in a room, when we talk about the subject, when we do a project, when we do an initiative. However, I have also learned throughout my experience that the best way to catch up or to be in line with such accelerated speed of innovation services is really to dive into it. There is, one thing that I ask to myself is, we self-learn, as, as has been said, we self-learn, on our own. Stefany mentioned many sources, where we can just go there and just learn. Believe me, it would not be a waste of time and we'd be so fascinated because once you will understand, or once we will understand what's going on from that side, it will just for us to understand which one are the skills, strengths that I already have can be portable to something different because I have learned something more. I have enriched my experience, my knowledge, my know-how, and so forth. And I can really, I can tell you only a simple thing. If I can do it, everyone can do it. So it seems naive, or it seems simple to say that, but in reality, it is this. And then, and the last thing to conclude the answer is, another thing that I notice among us women, that sometimes even among ourselves, we kind of are reluctant to show some gaps that we may have versus going to Stefany or to the next person next to us or our colleague and say, hey, how does it work? With the most honesty possible, because I think that one thing that I have noticed in the last 15 years, and I learned this actually exploring the fintech sector is the way to success and the way to succeed is through collaboration, through partnerships, through the willingness to dare and have the courage to make mistakes. I don't think that the problem is making mistakes. The problem is, and I tell it all the time to my team and to myself, to my children, to everyone, the problem is not having the problem. The problem is, what do you do with that? How do you react to that? And therefore, if we are able to not to be perhaps so tough with us, and it's like, okay, if I can advance through some pushing boundaries, some creating something, innovating on something, and maybe I wanted to go to 10, but I have been able to go to 5, that's good. This is absolutely good. So the best advice that I can give to everyone is don't look at 10 years from now, look at tomorrow. And absolutely, I would really recommend and suggest, to look, for instance, since as she opened up that, look at our wallet, crypto.com wallet. I think that one of the best things that crypto.com has brought into the market is the fact that it's very easy to navigate. We have created, a place where, you can immediately, you can have your wallet and you can buy and sell cryptos, and you can access to our NFT platform that we just launched last year. And by the way, the vision of crypto.com is cryptocurrencies in every wallet. So that is really the good concept, the biggest concept to say, okay, let's don't consider anymore the cryptocurrency, the token as a vehicle to invest or to protect wealth, but let's really say, how can we use this on a daily basis? So crypto.com saw this opportunity compared with other, companies, other exchanges or other, cryptocurrencies company, where there was a big problem on kind of like utilize those profits from the cryptocurrencies. So it's like, okay, I can invest in any stock, for instance. But if I ask to all of you, do you do anything with your stocks except perhaps on every 6 months go and see if the value fluctuated or goes up or goes down? Personally, I do nothing. I just, they sit there, I go and see the value, and that's it. So what's really this a wonderful, I would say, new way of, paying, of connecting, and etc., is really what it will give the opportunity to grow exponentially in the sector. And just for a very quick reference, a little bit, perhaps 1 year, 1.5 years ago, all around the world, we had only 100 million people entering into cryptocurrencies. This year, so after 1.5 years, we went from 100 million people to 300 million people. And just as a reference to tell you how is well accepted, okay, crypto.com started 4 years ago. We are now a 50 million customers in the world in less than 5 years. And the most important thing that I wanted to share with you is the first product that crypto.com brought into market was May 2018, when the Bitcoin was a total crash. So what is my point? My point is, yes, there are challenges. However, we are able to apply, if we are able to confidently apply what we have learned in our life and push the boundaries to ourselves, and being able to apply for any job that you can. And you know what? There will be companies, there will be, companies that will take a risk, as has been taking a risk on myself, for instance. I come from the payment world, and 2 years ago, crypto.com said, yes, I want you to lead my region, even if, I knew a little bit of blockchain, I knew a little bit, but I was not an investor, etc. So the message is, let's dare to push forward and change the status quo.
Thank you, Philomena. I thought that was excellent. I think also one of the things that it's important to recognize in the space is that it's a space that's constantly evolving. So it's always going to be new in one way or another. And if it's not new, then you're not thinking ahead. And so you're going to be essentially left behind. So that sort of fear component in terms of, but I don't know how to do it, will, I think, at least in my experience, always be there in one way or another. And that's actually a good thing, because it's what keeps you on your toes, and it keeps you interested, curious, wanting to grow, wanting to develop ideas. And even for us, when we're assisting our clients who are going, a lot of startups going into this space, they all have different ideas. They're very creative ideas, and it's catching up to the industry of what's going on, what everybody's doing, and it's constant learning. So that I think that's an excellent point. Natalia.
What's the name of the app? If people want today to get $100 of crypto, what's the name? Crypto.com when you go? So you go on
Crypto.com.
App Store, you get crypto.com, right? And then the most kind of important thing, when I came to Miami, I started to meet people, and mostly women moms in the high schools, because my daughter went for the first time in high school. So it's networking. And of course, they all ask, okay, tell me more about crypto. And they revealed that they were very intimidated. Some of them already had Coinbase app, but they were afraid to make the next step. So I literally just sit with them and I told them, give me 10 minutes, okay? Patience, 10 minutes. Let's get you through the verification. Once you get through the verification, it's all good, you're in. So when you get the app, crypto.com, you will need to go through the verification, couple minutes, and then you're able to connect with your bank through online banking. And you can absolutely trust the companies like crypto.com, Coinbase, Abra. You trust this bridge to your bank, then you spend $10 from your bank account. When Bitcoin becomes $1,000, you can cash out and put this money in your bank account back. Simple as that. So don't be intimidated. And I think like being a female, just like you said, we always want to know everything when we make the next step. No, just jump in, and any skill that you have is absolutely applicable to Web3 and crypto. Web3 is just the next innovation of technology. Internet was the first phenomenon. Now Web3 and blockchain is the next phenomenon. It's here to stay. It will not go out. Having said that, it's really hard to be a female founder in the space. And I'd like to share a little bit of my story where I experienced hardships in the male-dominated world. In 2016, when I launched Propy in Silicon Valley, I was reaching out to investors, to venture capitalists. And of course, the majority of female and male, but mostly they were probably 95% male back in time, they would always ask me question, well, tell me how you will fail. They never ask a question, how big it could be. Is it $1 trillion opportunity, $1 billion opportunity? No. Most of the questions were, okay, you're a single mom. What if your daughter gets sick or you get sick? Or real estate, oh my God, it's so regulated. Probably you have so many obstacles, and it's happening up till now. So in 2017, I decided to go another road. And we did an ICO, a token sale. So now my currency, Propy currency, it's listed on Coinbase. It's a $200 million market cap, and we're flourishing. But I had the opportunity to find the other way to bring revenue to the company. And we raised $15 million then, when investors didn't want to invest. Yes, there were 7 amazing male investors that gave me checks as angel investors, and I'm very grateful. But at the same time, many others were, raising easily. Last year, it was a boom of investment, boom. And I had calls and investors who were reaching out because we did the first ever NFT in the space. Tiger, SoftBank, like all those VCs were reaching out to me. But again, the questions we get is, tell more how you will fail, what are the obstacles, what are the risks, and so on. And so again, I wanted to make the things differently. So I told to my investors from seed round, in the seed round, actually, we had a great round with 5, again, male investors, and I'm very thankful Tim Draper is the one who led it. Believe in me, he believes it's a $1 trillion opportunity. His questions were all about how we will dominate the world, not only the US market, but the world. Now this round, I decided to lead it as a founder. I'm leading, and my goal is to have 50% of participation by female investors.
I would like to add something on what she said is excellent what you just said. And many times I have a daughter, she's teenagers. And by the way, one of the things that I am very proud of myself is I really inspire her to get into this sector. Obviously, she's at the stage where obviously she needs to understand what she wants to do. And she decided to do financial technologies and to become eventually in financial crime, in AML, et cetera, et cetera. And I really feel proud of myself. But most of the time I tell her when she sees obstacle, I tell her all the time, do you know why today we can go I am originally from Italy. And so every year we go to Italy. And I tell my children, do you know why today we are able to go to Italy? And they say, why, mommy? Well, because at the beginning of this century, two brothers, they have done more than 1,000 attempts to fly, and they fail. And they say, what do you say, mommy? And say, yes, before the brother rights, actually they took it right. And they had the, rudimental plane, go up. It flew only for 3 seconds. 3 seconds. That was a success that they learned after, or they achieved after more than 1,000 attempts. So when you share your story of looking at certain area of, perhaps the more negative way, instead of, cheering up and appreciating certain things, that is what we should never kind of forget, is practice that makes perfect. That is what we say to all our children. And therefore, if we dare again to try to fail, to improve, and to move on, I believe that this is the road to success.
Absolutely, totally agree. That's why we have, as you said, push the boundaries. And if the world is against you, you find another way. You just create a new wave. You support other women. You tell your story. You share your story. I encourage all of you, share your stories. Use your Instagram and Twitter, wherever you have at least a little bit of the community. Share your stories of success, because then they spark other women. They become more confident. They become founders, or they join tech startups. So definitely push the boundaries and do things differently.
Yeah, it sets a path. It sets a path that others can follow. And on that, we actually have like about 7 minutes left of the panel. Believe it or not, it just flew by. We had about 15 questions to cover, and we've gotten to this. But amazing panel. Before we turn it over to Q&A for the audience, one of the things that I think is important, and I wanted each of you and ask each of you to cover, is if you're a woman today sitting in the audience and you say, I'm interested in getting into crypto, into fintech, what do I do? Like, what's my action plan? So Renee, if you can, from your experience.
So first, just start with a simple Google search and see what resources are out there, what YouTube videos are out there. Various companies also have tutorials. I believe crypto.com has some tutorials as well. And just watch them, and watch a bunch of different ones, because each one is going to give you a different perspective. And each one is going to have just a nugget that you're like, oh, that's also interesting. Maybe the other one didn't cover that, but now you have that as well. Also, just be, like we were talking about, like, invest like $100, download the wallets. You could even PayPal or Venmo, which I'm sure, I don't know if most of us use or not. I have a variety of crypto accounts, but a lot of my stuff I just buy through Venmo, because if my friend sends me $20, I'm like, oh, I'll just buy it. And there's limited coins that you could buy, but also just, put $20 into that, and it's not, you just let it sit and see what happens. So.
I don't want to repeat some of the things that I already said, so I'm going to try to say some things differently. That if some of you guys are here in Miami, this is the hub of crypto. The reality is that there's a lot of meetup groups, there's a lot of conferences, there's a lot of events, happy hours. So again, you can find those on social media, or you can, if you follow any of us on LinkedIn, you can probably see some of those events. So be active, participate. Again, one of the things that I said earlier, there's a lot of women that are in this space. One of the things that I did probably like 3 months ago, I said, I am going to find out each and every one of those women. So I started a list of who are all the women in the exchanges and the banks and different institutions that are playing a role. And I've personally taken the task that I'm creating a podcast series where I want to see all those women there, because I want their voices to be out there. Also at Mastercard, next week, we're going to be doing a big launch event. We're going to launch Bell Block, which is going to be an internal and external platform for women in crypto as well. So again, there's a lot of tools and resources out there. But last and not least, I'm going to say, believe in yourself, that you can do it. You can actually do it. There's one person in this audience that probably 3 months ago was telling me, I cannot do this job. I cannot get into crypto. I'm not gonna get it. And it took me hours of convincing that woman that yes, you can do it. You have the knowledge, you have the skills, you have the expertise. You're just missing this piece. Let's make sure that you learn that last piece in the next couple of months before you get there. And the person got it. So again, just believe in yourself and believe that you can do it.
Yes, my message is very similar in the sense of I would divide in the personal level, professional level, from the personal level, again, for me, the best way of learning is to go on YouTube. There is a lot of videos coming to my website, our website. We have a project that we do with the university with other big partners that they have really like the educational aspect of blockchain and cryptocurrencies. So that is from a personal level, but from a professional level, there to push your manager, your team, your company, your executive. I think that we are in a different environment than 15 years ago. 15 years ago, yes, there was much more challenges than nowadays. There was a different approach from our colleagues, from the corporate per se, and now it's different. So let's leverage those things. So let's bank in those things to say, I wanted to drive this sector in our company, and do it. Do it. Have small goals, achievable goals, small wins in order to be able, to continue and involve and bring into the team more and more women. Mastercard is doing an excellent job. I mean, is investing in several areas from the interest standpoint, partnership standpoint, and it's amazing. It's amazing when those big companies, they publicly support certain changes. Big banks, JP Morgan, Citibank, I mean, all those big banks, I mean, they are or big corporations, they are pushing for more equality, they are pushing for more inclusions. And therefore, it's really up to us to work on a personal level and on a professional level. And last but not least, yes, play with Crypto.com wallet, or in reality with any wallet you choose. Obviously I prefer that would be mine, but it doesn't really matter. Really, our vision is cryptocurrency in every wallet, and if we will achieve this at the end of the day, that will be a success, and again, it will be fun journey.
How many of you are in real estate? Only 2 people. We have a cryptocurrency course for real estate, where in 7 sessions, we're teaching what is a cryptocurrency, what is blockchain, what is smart contract, how it all applies to real estate. So if you're interested, it's on propy.com on the main menu courses. But I'd like to add about the resources where you can learn, trusted resources, because Google, when you Google it, there is a lot. So first of all, Blockworks, and we have a person from Blockworks here. It's a great resource. Another one is Cointelegraph, and the third one is CoinDesk. Those 3 resources I highly recommend. Very often they have high-level articles about applications, like real-life applications. They have Instagram accounts, so you'll get all those visuals to understand articles better. They have Telegram news, and in the morning I always check one of those, what's going on the market, and it's very easy to digest. Another item is that you can learn about crypto without investing in it, and this way is actually very fun. For example, there are learn and earn programs. Are there on crypto.com? Of course. On crypto.com, there is a learn and earn program. So you basically can learn about coins, about applications, and earn tokens for each of those projects. It's fun and it's short. They normally have like a 1 to 5 minute little sessions, and you learn. Then you can also go to OpenSea, create a wallet, don't put any money, and then you can receive NFT drops for free in your wallets. And you will just learn from all this experience. And those of you who have kids, teenagers, they're into it. And if you want, ask them, and then play around. So yes, education and the way how to get into the crypto, I think it's critical. And then once you learn, spread the knowledge. Please spread it, because again, it's all about the fundamental. We want to figure out how we can build the future of society in a more trusted and honest way. And if women, we're not part of this discussion, if we're not giving our perspective, then of course, all those algorithms of future will be built by not a diverse group of people. So, yeah.
If there's one more point that I will add, my last piece of advice is actually not for any of you, but it's actually for those of you who have daughters. I think a lot of this start at a very young age, and we don't do a good job at teaching your young girls that they can be in STEM and that is okay and that you can do it and that you're smart. So we at Mastercard, for example, have a program that is called Girls for Tech, in which we have our employees and our partners go out there to teach young girls about blockchain and crypto and payments. And not only to teach them about that, but for them to see themselves, right? If a young girl sees another young Latina doing it, is like, that's visibility. That means I can do it. If she did it, I can get there. So there are other organizations as well, like Girls Who Code. Here in Miami, there's an excellent organization that is called Code Art. So again, if you have young girls, please make sure that you expose them, that you teach them, and that they can learn about all these different things that we're doing here.
Thank you all. So we'll open it up to questions. Okay. I guess, what do you have? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys for that presentation. My name is Vanessa. My question, I'm not very well versed in crypto, just full disclosure, but I'm interested in learning more. One of the use cases that I see could potentially attract a lot of people is intercountry transfers, because a lot of us have families in other countries, or maybe want to invest in properties in other countries, and those transactions are still very difficult to do with traditional banking institutions and with currency exchanges and all of that. So I'm interested in your perspective as to the growth of that use case and what obstacles have to be overcome for that to be more adopted.
I'm happy to start. So I think what you're seeing today as it relates to crypto is the democratization of crypto, right? So all of the exchanges, including crypto.com, they have their wallets where you can do buy, hold, and sell. They're partnered with the networks such as Mastercard, where they offer cards, right? And what the cards allow them to do, let's say it's debit, you have your crypto account, and then you want to go out to the world and you want to spend it. You have your crypto balance that go into the card, and you can go to Starbucks and buy a coffee. Or let's say you want to earn crypto, then they also have a credit card in which when they use it at the point of sale or online, they also accumulate crypto. So those are two different use cases. But right now, what you're seeing in the industry is the push for democratization, so people can have access to crypto, understand what they can do with crypto. What you will see in the years to come is what are all those other applications that could be used for crypto. Remittances, you just highlighted, I think is going to be one of the huge and biggest use cases, particularly in Latin America. I don't know if you saw yesterday on the news, Bitso, which is one of the largest exchanges in Latin America, announced that they processed or transacted around $1 billion in remittances already between the US and Mexico. I think we're going to see more of that. It's still very nascent, but definitely a huge opportunity. And I will say Latin America has become sort of the holy grail of crypto, or it's been one of the regions with the highest growth because we have certain market conditions that has allowed that. Financial inclusion, right? Unbanked population, the fact that a lot of people still transact in cash. So again, remittances in crypto will play a huge role in Latin America, and I'm sure in other parts of the world.
Yeah, I would like to add to that as well in two ways. So when we talk about international transaction, really blockchain can really bring a serious improvement to the current status. Blockchain will bring trust, transparency, efficiency, and the whole supply chain, it becomes more efficient, it becomes trackable, and also it becomes less expensive. So the whole ecosystem will actually earn from that. I mean, it would be beneficial. But the second thing, as to add to what Stefany was saying, for instance, company like my company, actually, I wanted to share a super quick story. There was that I learned through another event organized for women. So there was this person in the United States. He was from Mexico, and he got into a big accident, and therefore he received the money as a compensation. But he knew that he was not able to bring these funds to Mexico for tax reasons, etc., etc. So therefore, he decided to actually get into a crypto wallet, convert these funds into whatever tokens of his choice, and he went to Mexico. He went to I don't know if any of you is from Mexico, but there is this big chain called OXXO. Exactly, called OXXO. The person went to OXXO, and the coin were immediately transformed in fiat, and he withdrew the money with a very low fee, with not going through the hassle regarding taxes and so forth. And that's I think it would be the future, in the sense of company like crypto.com, that we will have a crypto wallet. In reality, if you transfer from wallet to wallet, it's pretty much very transparent, very easy to do. And I do believe that can actually completely disrupt the remittances world in a very simple way.
Absolutely, and it definitely already has, right? Yes. Yeah. I think this space definitely has characteristics and certain components that will assure this continues to be part of our day-to-day. In fact, I went to a conference and there was a panelist that essentially said, and it's so true, you could be in Africa, in Nigeria. If you have a phone, you have access or the possibility, the opportunity to get into crypto. Fintech remittances are a lot less expensive if you do it through fintech companies. You're not going through banks. I mean, we were just discussing that. So there's certain characteristics that will make sure that this is an area that definitely continues to grow, and I think it's here to stay. More questions?
We can just take one more.
Okay, so just one more. One over.
Hi, thank you for speaking. My name is Evelyn Laguna. I'm actually with Zero Hash, and I just got into crypto. I'm like a baby, so I'm just learning. So it's really fun to see you guys, because it's funny, when I've gone to conferences here in Miami, it's a bunch of like crypto bros, and I realized I was like, oh my God, like I can't have like a conversation with these guys. Like all the girls are like, oh my God, it's all crypto bros. Like I don't want to go to that event because there's like 2 to 3 girls, and then we're all kind of like, oh, hey, like, what do you do? And then it's like HR and like very limited. So I'm like, oh, okay, like marketing. And I see it, like we have so many openings at my job currently, and I see so many women that I worked with because I came from traditional banking, and I always think of all the great like directors I had and all that stuff, and I want to like take them, but they're like, no, like I've been in banking for 25 plus years, and I'm not leaving my job. Or even people that I've worked with for 6-7 years, and they're like, I'm not leaving. And I wanted to know, how do you kind of the easiest way? I know it's really hard, because even with my mom and everybody, they're like, no, like crypto, like no, like keep my savings and everything, don't touch anything, don't do anything for me, just leave it as it is. And I get it, because I was like that too. Like I was just speaking with them, I'm like the youngest, oldest person I know, because when people talk to me about crypto, I'm like, I come from a bank, like that's never gonna happen, that's not a thing, like don't talk to me about it. But how do you shake that skepticism? Like basically for me, it's to recruit more women, because I always tell them, and they're like, oh, I don't know. So what advice do you guys have like for that?
So one thing I would say is, because now we're in like another crypto winter, I do believe that it will eventually go up again. So you can even invest money in it now and then show them in a few months, even in a year. Even if you just show the statistics of cryptocurrency, like especially with Bitcoin and Ethereum specifically, like how they've really risen since when they were created. Another thing is just we just have to not be afraid. And because like the whole concept of the crypto bros, it is very intimidating. It is very, I'm trying to I know we're being recorded, so I'm trying to be diplomatic. It is a very it is a situation that not a lot of us want to be in because we just don't have time to like deal with this broness, if you will. So just like but if there's more of us here, if there's more of us, then we're good. So we just need more of us kind of in this space and not to be afraid and just say, you just kind of jump in head first and see, like, I never would have imagined in a million years that I would be in this space. Like, this was not kind of where I had thought my career would take me, but I absolutely love it. And I think once you get into it, like, you can't stop. So.
I could also add that just sharing the stories of other people, of other female successful women. For example, my co-founder, she's a former CFO of BNP Paribas Bank, right? She's a banker and she decided to join us full time. She didn't get salary for a year, but she was just fascinated about the blockchain. She wanted to learn more, and that's the way to go. Just not be fearful, and they can start learning and being involved part-time. They don't have to leave their jobs right away, right? They can learn, and one motive is money, right? When we show that historically Bitcoin has been only up, but the other one is really the fundamental. It's the time to change. Our systems are not working. Governments are not working. We have to make the change. Bitcoin, nobody can take this money from you. Governments, corporations, they cannot take money from you. And why we allow the biggest tech company to charge us? Those money, those proceeds can be owned by the community, and that was what blockchain allows. That what NFT avatars allows, because you get the skin in the game. DAOs, decentralized autonomous organization. Once you're a participant, you get access to the future profits of all those organizations or companies. So I think that's, speaking through the fundamental perspective, that could help.
And if I can also say one more thing is, I think we should demystify the fact that we have a lot of message telling us that cryptocurrency is utilized for illegal purposes. I really want to share truly with you that two things. Number one, that company like crypto.com and many other companies in the sector, we have the most rigorous onboarding process when it comes to KYC, when it comes to AML, when it comes to procedures and policies and so forth, number one. But number two, through blockchain, actually the flow of money can be tracked at any seconds, and that will give intelligence to to FBI, to the law in general, to really understand that who is in blockchain, who is in cryptocurrencies, not necessarily comes from is a bad actors. And therefore I wanted to finish this question by saying we really needed to demystify this fact that is being used by bad actors.
Thank you, Filomena. And with that, I know there's more questions. We don't have time, unfortunately, but we're here, so we can definitely catch up one-on-one. Thank you, panelists. An honor to have you. Great insight and experience. So thank you very